attributes. All right, and then the last big section for the workshop, for today's piece of the workshop, is how do we get the map on the web? So you can make a really nice map in ArcGIS Pro. We didn't do analysis yet, but we will on Wednesday. But let's say you did a whole bunch of analysis and you made a really nice map and you want to share it. There's a few different ways that you can share your map. One of them is just to make a static PDF and then email it to someone, but then it's kind of locked in time and space. Putting your map on the web allows you to create an interactive map that's easily updated. So anytime the data changes, the person might have the same link, the same URL, but the data behind the map can always be updated. So they'll always have the most up-to-date map. So having an interactive web map is really advantageous over a static map. It also lets people, gives people the opportunity to click on a feature and get the attributes, to zoom in and see the details so they can zoom in and out and view the map at whatever scale they need to. A couple of examples, let me make this bigger here. A couple of examples of web maps that you might have seen or heard of. This one here in the middle might look familiar. That's the John Hopkins COVID map, which has been at the forefront of a lot of news stories for the past few months. And this is what we call a dashboard. So it's an interactive web map, which has like the map part in the middle, but then on the left and right, we have statistics. So it's really just really readable, easy to use, user-friendly formatting of information in a table. It's just putting out information in a table in a nice format. And then down here we have a graph as well. So this is what we would call a dashboard. And every time the table behind the scenes is updated, that map will update automatically. And then as you zoom in, actually, it will change the numbers to what you're zooming in on. So that's a pretty fancy one. This one here is the city of Fort Collins. So we looked at their open data webpage a few minutes ago, but they also have an interactive map. So you can literally just click on and off layers and view all the data in their web mapping application in their web page. So you're not downloading it and you're not adding it into your map. You're just looking at their data in their map online. So that's just like a basic web mapping application. And then these three here are pieces of a story map. And it's actually a story map that one of my students made for the final project in my 322 class. And a story map is really just a web page where you can, it's a web page for people who don't know how to make web pages. It's super easy to make, but it allows you to add in all these different widgets like images and text boxes. And here's an image, here's a text box, it's bulleted. And then this one on the bottom is actually an interactive map. So you can make a web map in this ArcGIS Online platform and then start your story map and tell the story map webpage to embed the web map. So basically in the end, you just have a really nice scrolling web page, and one of the panels in that web page is an interactive map that you can zoom in and out on and see the legend and click on features and get the pop-ups and so on. So a story map is a really great way to tell a story where you're mixing text and bullets and images and maps and even videos, pretty much anything like that in a really nice format. So these three examples are all through the Esri world with the ArcGIS world. There are other options out there as well. There's one called carto.com, mapbox.com. Even just in Google Maps, you can take KML and put it into a map and then save it as a link and share that link. So it doesn't have to be fancy. Google can do it as well. So a bunch of you mentioned wanting to be able to learn how to do this. So we were going to end today with how to do this. So when we talk about this, if there's anything specific that you want to be able to do or show on a web map or share, please let me know and we can make sure we cover that. So what we're going to do now is basically take our ArcGIS Pro map and we're going to kind of get it ready for publishing. There's just a couple of little buttons to click in Pro to publish it to ArcGIS Online. And then we'll go over to the browser and then we'll look at the map from that side of it and finish configuring it. So these basic steps here are really what we're going to be doing. So now we're going to get into we're right here. You're going to need to log in with that ArcGIS Online account. So get ready. All right, so we're going to start by going back to Pro, and we're going to zoom out a little bit back to the whole park. And I don't need the imagery. I'm going to turn that off. And I'm not really loving the symbology. I don't really like my pink lines for trails. So using your own skills, we'll all do it together, but try to figure it out on your own. How can we make these trails look more trail-like? So one idea is just to change the color. Another idea is to make it have a dashed line. So see if you can figure that out. So we'll take a couple minutes and do that. I'll let you get started so I don't give away the answers. If you remember, we can click on the little patch when we get to our format symbol here. Here's where I could just change the color. I could just make it like a brown color. Right, that looks better already. If I wanted to make it dashed though, we didn't actually do that before. And I'll give you a hint, it's from in here. From the symbol pane, it's from this little middle button called Layers. So take a minute and see if you can play around with that.
Did all of the lines representing the trails show up when you imported that trailheads layer from the cloud?
My trail lines were already there before, and they did stay even when I added the trailheads. Did yours disappear?
I don't think I ever had trail lines.
Oh, okay, you know what? When we first started, I don't think I had us add it, but you can go back to your catalog pane, and in all the data that I gave you today, there's a trails. I think I added it in. I was sneaky. I think I did it without telling you.
So that's what we can edit now to make it dashed. Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. All right, so if we wanted to make the trails dashed like they very often are on maps, did you guys figure out how to do that? Would anyone like to share?
You just select dash effect, and then you can pick which one.
Yeah, so under this little middle button for layers, then you get all these options for offset and dash and caps and joins. And if you go to dash, you can pick a standard one like this, but notice how you get two numbers here at 5 and 3. You can play around with those to make the dashing, to make each dash longer and to make the gap between them longer or shorter. So 5 and 3 is the one that I picked. If I hit apply, it looks like that. If I make it 5 and 6, it'll look like that. So it just has more space in between. I actually like 5 and 3, so I'm just going to leave it at 5 and 3. And 5 and 3 was just this one right here. So I just picked from the drop down. All right. So we have, and it doesn't matter if your web map has everything the same on it or not, but we have the boundary, we have campsites, we have trails, and then the trailheads, and then roads. So that's pretty good for now. If you want to adjust your symbology at all, go for it. Or if you're happy with it, leave it, that's fine too. I'm going to hit save on my map. And then as we're following the slides here, what we're going to do is go to the Share tab in Pro, and it's going to pop up another panel on the right that we have to fill out. We're going to have to log in as well. In Pro, I didn't put that step in here. Here, Now it's there. We'll have to log into our account in Pro because it needs to know what account to publish to. And then we're going to make sure there are no errors. We're going to hit Analyze to make sure there's no errors. And then once it's published, then we just go to a browser. We go to the web map and we log in, and then we can finish configuring on that side. All right, so from here, again, I hit save, and I am logged in, but if you need to log in, you would do it from up here. So go up to the upper right and just hit sign in, and then sign in with your account. And if you need that account again, it's going to be, whoops, it's going to be this one. And then the password, if you can't remember your password, I can reset it for you. But it looks like everyone has logged in the past month or two, so hopefully you remember what it is. Okay, if you need help getting logged in, you can just put that in the chat. We can work that out. All right, once you're logged in, again, following the steps in the slide, we are going to go to the tab up here called Share. And what we want to share is a web map. Notice there's a bunch of different things that we can share. We can share a package. So we can like take all the layers and package up our project if we needed to share it with someone, like a zip file of the project and all the data it uses. If we just wanted to share the individual data sets online, we could share as web layers. But we want to share the whole map in map form with all the layers added in. So we want to share our web map. So we're going to click on that. It opens up the share as web map pane on the right. And here's where you just have to fill out some information. So you need to give your map a name.
My web map is not like showing up for me to click on it.
Yeah, mine is grayed out too.
Are you logged in up here in the upper right?
Oh, I logged in online, but no, it's not showing me logged in. Oh.
Yeah, log in within ArcGIS Pro up here.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. When I made the slide, I forgot about that step. I think because mine is always logged in and I forgot. So the first step one is log in ArcGIS Pro. And then share tab. There. This is why I made the slides a Google Doc so we can update things as we need to.
Okay, now it is not grayed out. Thank you.
Okay. So once you get logged in, hit the web map, hit share tab web map, and then just fill out these things. So fill out a name, a quick summary, just a sentence, a tag. The tags are really just for searching. So if you're going to share this, what would someone else want to search by so that they find your map? Like, we don't want anyone to find this map because it's not really a very good map, but it makes you do a tag. So you might just want to make a tag of like CLTL workshop just to make it happy, and that way no one will really find it. If you were making a real map that was going to be used by real people for real things and shared publicly, you would want to name these things very well. You'd want to be meaningful and thoughtful about what you name them. The summary should include what the map is about. It doesn't have to have all the detail about who made it, when it was made, but maybe a little bit of that would be helpful. Once you get your map into ArcGIS Online, you'll see there's a summary and another section called description. Under description is where you can add more information. Think of the summary and description basically as metadata for your map. So if someone is searching around ArcGIS Online, they need to know if your map is worthy of their use and worthy of their time. So that's where you can add that. So don't leave it blank, definitely put something in there. If it is a junk map, put that in there too. Demo map, junk map, not for production, something like that. And then on the bottom, see it says share with. If you don't check either of these, then it won't be shared with anyone. No one will be able to find it, but you'll still be able to see it. If it's a good map that you want people to use far and wide, then you can share it with everyone. And that means it's public. Anyone who logs into ArcGIS Online and searches the right keywords will be able to find your map. So I'm not going to check those because my map is not really worth it. Once you fill all of that out, then you hit Analyze on the bottom. And Analyze will just do a quick check to see if there's any glaring errors. So mine, it's saying my service layer, which is the base map, has a different projection than the map's projection. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to change the projection of the map. The base map, you know, we were talking about coordinate systems before. The base map is in one coordinate system. The rest of my layers are in another one. And when you go into the online system, you don't really get a choice of coordinate systems. So we're gonna fix that. So Josh, while I do it, do you want to write up a couple of notes in the chat so that if anyone falls behind, they can see it? So what we're going to do to fix this error, because I bet we're all going to have that error, is we're going to go over here to our contents and see how the name of our map is map. We're going to right click on map in contents. So contents, map, right click. And then we're going to go down to the properties of the map. And we're just going to really make the map draw as though it's in a different coordinate system. So we're going to go to properties. And once you're in the properties of the map, notice that there's an option here on the left, kind of in the middle here, for coordinate systems. We're going to click on that. And I'm going to make this bigger just so we can see a little bit more of it. What we need to do is make the map draw as though it's in the same projection as the base map. So I can expand layers. And I actually want to pick this top one called Web Mercator. So map properties, coordinate systems, expand layers, and then click on the one that says Web Mercator. And then hit OK. And now you can see the map changed a little bit. It looks a little bit more wide than tall. And that's all we need to do. So Josh is putting it into the chat. So if you weren't able to follow, you'll be able to read it and hopefully catch up on your own.
I don't see Web Mercator as an option to select.
Do you have a base map in there?
Yeah, it lets me select the layers from my other, like I can select RMNP, trails, or elk subset.
You don't see that. Do you see the name of your base map?
Let me check.
Do you see something like world imagery or something?
No, I'll see if I can figure it out.
Okay. Josh, can you hit, what was I saying? Was that Talia? Can you work with Talia maybe to get her straightened out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So once that's fixed, then if you analyze again, now there's no more, should be no more errors. So back in the right, back in the Share as Web Map panel on the right, if you hit Analyze again after fixing the projection, you should hopefully get no errors. Assuming you get no errors, then you can just hit Share. The button on the middle, bottom middle, that will then share the web map and it'll put it into your account in ArcGIS Online.
If you have alerts, will you still be able to share without a problem?
Yes. So if you have the yellow triangle, then you can still share. It's just telling you some things might not be perfect. But if you have the red circle with the X, then it won't let you share at all.
Okay,
So
thank
if
you.
you have the warning, I would just move forward.
Sorry, for step 1, it says in the contents, right click on map. Where is that?
That's in the contents pane on the left. You know where all your layers are listed? That's
Okay.
that's your contents. And at the very top of your layer list is the name of your map, which is just the word map right now.
Okay, got it.
Okay. And when you're publishing, it might take a couple minutes. So mine is actually still going. So if you have questions or issues, feel free to chime in.
I had a question. I think I tried it, but it didn't work. When you are using like the polygon, and to get out of it, you said double click, but that didn't work for me, and so I had to exit out
Oh, okay.
from the actual. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in the middle of a feature, if you're like creating a new feature, then double click or hitting the F2 button will finish that feature and like let you move on to the next feature. If you want to go back to like panning mode and not do any more editing, then if you look on screen, then I suggest just going back to the map tab and clicking the explore button, and that will just get you back to like the regular pointer, and it'll get you out of edit mode.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, so mine is still going. While mine is going, I can show you what the next step will be though, because we'll have to log in, so we can kind of get a jump start on that. So let's hop back into a browser. So here, what we're going to do is actually step 4 on the slide. So we're going to go to arcgis.com and log in with our account. And then I'll show you where to go from there. It'll be contents and then look at the map. So let's open a new tab and go to arcgis.com. Once you get to arcgis.com, on the upper right is the sign in button. And then you'll have to know your username and your password. And then get yourself signed in. So hopefully your maps are all publishing. Mine, it looks like mine just finished. It took, whoops. It took longer than I thought. If you aren't careful, if you notice, when your map is done publishing, there's actually a link. And this link at the bottom that says manage the web map, that will jump you right into ArcGIS Online to your web map. And I clicked that. Or you can just get yourself logged in, which is, I'd like to show you this way just to show you how to navigate into it. Okay, is anyone, let's see, whose map is still publishing or who's still trying to get logged in? Okay, Roberta. Okay, we'll give it another minute.
I'm good.
Okay, great. All right, so even if your map isn't all the way published, you can still get yourself logged in. So right now what we're looking at is like the homepage for CSU for ArcGIS Online. And ArcGIS Online, again, it's an online mapping platform through Esri, through their ArcGIS family of software, but it lets you create web maps, it lets you post and share data, and it lets you use other people's data, and it lets you do some analysis and make story maps and make really cool web mapping applications. So all these tabs at the top are kind of related to that. I'm going to go to content, and you should too. So go into content. And content is where it will list all of the data and maps that you've created in your ArcGIS Online account. I have a lot, I have a ton in here. You probably just have a couple of things, and the name of the web map and the name of the layers in the web map should be at the top of your list. So I can see my RMNP demo map CLTL workshop. I can see it in two formats here. The web map is the map completed with all the layers with the symbology. And then each individual layer that makes up the web map shows up as its own item. And look at the titles. So we have web map, we have feature layer, a couple of story maps in here, web mapping applications. So there's different types of. If we take a look, clicking on the name of the web map in that list will take you to this page, and this is called the items detail or item details. And the item details is like your metadata. This is where it's really important to provide a summary and to provide a description. So I'm not going to now, but if you are making real production data, you would want to go in here and edit it and actually add a description about who made this map, what it's all about, when it was made, what purpose does it serve, things like that, who to contact. So this is my item details. Here are all the layers that are in the map. There's a lot of them. And then on the right, there's credits, so you can add sources and information about who made the map and where the data came from as well. Once you're here and you take a look at it, then you might want to actually open up the map itself. So in the upper right of your item details page, you can see this Open in Map Viewer button. Click that button. All right, so now it looks just like the map I had in ArcGIS Pro, but I'm in a browser. So now this is a way that I can actually share my map with other people. It's not the most exciting map, but it looks the same. Here's my original, and here's the web version. And that's the whole point of doing this, is to be able to share data, share maps, share results with people in an interactive environment. Now, anyone I could give the URL to from my share button up here, I could share the map and they could zoom in on it and they could click on my data and they could see little pop-ups about each feature. So that's the power behind this, is this interactive nature, and you can configure these and you can show certain attributes or hide them. You can also change the symbology. For example, maybe I don't like the red of the road. If I look at my content here, these are all the layers that are in the map. And if I look at my road, I can click on any layer. And when you click on a layer, notice that you get a little like drop-down menu sort of. You can look at the table. You can change the style. You can do a filter and hide certain features. You can also do analysis. For right now, let's go to change style. It's the button with the little shapes on it. And you can play around with how that layer is going to be drawn. So it's just a single kind of plain red color because that's how it was in Pro. But I could click on change style. I could click options. And then I could click symbols up here, right here. And then I could make it thicker. And I could give it a pattern. I could give it I wouldn't want an arrow, but I could change the color. So I can change all these properties in here. Once you change the properties, you hit OK. And now it changes it. And then you have to hit OK again. So this is the second button, OK. And then there's one more, third one, then you have to hit done. So that's a lot of clicking, actually. So you have to hit OK twice and then done. But now my roads are darker and thicker. All right, one of the things that you mentioned in your survey that you wanted to be able to do is to maybe share results of a project, maybe in a web map like this, but import or show other layers on top of it. So again, just like we did with the trails and the trailheads, we can access that same data from here. So if we wanted to add more layers to the map that we didn't have already downloaded, we could go from our map, from our web map, and there's an add option right here. Does everyone see that add option?
Yes.
Thanks. So when we were in Pro, we went to that little portal, the little cloud button. By going to add, search for layers, that is going to give us the same result as the little cloud button did in Pro. So I'm going to click search for layers. And by default, it's showing me only my content that I've uploaded, and I don't want just that. I want to search for layers from all of ArcGIS Online. So that's the bottom one. And now I can search for whatever you want. The world is your oyster. So think beyond Rocky Mountain National Park right now. Think about what layers and what types of data you might be using in your work, in your research, in maps that you might be making. I'm not creative, so I'm just going to do Rocky Mountain National Park lakes. Rocky Mountain, oh my goodness, I cannot spell. National Park lakes. So here we have, again, look who the owner of the data is. IMRGIS_GPS. That's actually the same people who own the data on that open data webpage that we looked at before. So if we look in here, we have park unit boundaries, BND survey, park unit boundaries. Okay, well, I'm not getting the the data that I really wanted. Soils, vegetation, geologic units. There's a lot of data in here, but I'm not finding a lakes layer that I wanted. It's in there somewhere. I would just have to search a little bit differently. The other thing is, if I know that the data I want was uploaded by IMRGIS, this guy right here, IMRGIS. Another way to do it is owner : and then the name of the owner. So this is everything that that person or agency has posted. Oh, but it's all parks. All right, well, I would need to play around with this query a little bit more to find what I need, but that's how you can look for data. So add button, search for layers, and then Living Atlas or ArcGIS Online. So much data is available, and if you just need some data for your map, it's a great way to get it in there. Okay, so I'm going to hit X on this, and I'm going to hit the back arrow up here to get rid of that. Now we're just back to our map. I want to change my base map. I don't really like the base map we have right now, so I'm going to go back and add topographic. And now I can see the terrain underneath it a little bit better. If I wanted to change symbology, I could. The other thing that's really common to do here is pop-ups. So for example, if I clicked on a campsite, the little window that pops up with my attributes is called a pop-up. And the pop-up has everything coming from the table, and you might not want everything from the table to show up in your final map. So what you can do, I'm going to close this. What you can do is for any layer in your contents of your web page, you can click on the layer, and then notice that there's a little triple dot button, the ellipsis button. For any layer, you can click that button, and there's an option here to configure the pop-up. And what that will do is let you hide certain attributes or change the name of what the field is, because sometimes your field names in the table are very cryptic. So let's go into here, configure pop-up. And this little window can be kind of overwhelming, but we're going to skip over the hard stuff and just do a couple of simple things. So if you go down here, there's a little blue link called Configure Attributes. So we're going to click Configure Attributes. And then we get, just really simple, we get the ability to check on and off which attribute fields we want to show up in the pop-up. For example, we don't need object ID. We don't need the UTMs because that doesn't really mean a lot to people. And we'll leave those. But then we also might want to change the name of how it shows up. So we might want to say, instead of site, maybe we want to call it site code. And instead of campsite, all caps, we might want to be calling it campsite name. Instead of lawn 83, maybe we'll call it longitude. Longitude. Same thing for latitude. Latitude. So we can change how it shows up and change what fields will actually show up. And I'm going to hit OK. So again, that was from the ellipses button. I'll show you again. So that was from the little ellipses button here, configure pop-up, configure attributes. So once you do that, then when you click on a campsite, notice it looks a little bit different. Those fields have been hidden, and the field names here on the left, they're a little bit more readable, more user-friendly. Okay, so now that we've seen a bunch of this, do you have questions, things that you might want to do for your own maps that you're wondering how to do?
I have one more question.
Sure.
Is there a way where instead of clicking on it and having all of that information pop up, that you can just like roll your mouse over something and it would pop up? Like even for the trailheads, like it feels kind of busy, and I like knowing which ones they are, but if I could like click on it and then have it pop up, or like just roll my mouse over.
Yeah, so out of the box, there is not a way to do that, but I think through some crazy back-end way, there is a way to do that, but I don't know how to do that. But that's a really good question, and I know the person to ask, so I can find out just how hard it is to do something like that. I think it's hard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question too. I realized I didn't try this, but for example, like the trailhead data that we access by searching for it, and then the little icon popped up, can you still edit the same way you would something that you created? Like the icon styles and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you can change the symbology. You can definitely change the symbology, but in terms of editing, like moving a point or changing an attribute, you can't do that.
Right.
But for trailheads, if I clicked on it and went to change style and went to options for the single symbol and then went to symbols, there's so many clicks. It's actually really annoying. If I went to change a symbol for it, right now this is the symbol that came with it, but I could change that. I could pick a different image under this little link here. I could pick a different image, or I could just make it a box. Another boxes.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
When you add like other layers, other maps, will you still have saved your original map that is like a single layer, or would you have to like duplicate just in case that you need to go back? Oh, but you can unclick. Never mind. Just forget what I said.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say when you save, you are saving the same map. over the old map. But if you wanted to do a save as, under the save button here in the top center, there is a save as. So I don't know if that helps you in any way, but.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's say we made this map and we changed all of our symbols and it's great and it's beautiful and we're ready to share it with our colleagues or share it on a web page so that the whole world can see it. We would do that by going to the top center right here. First, you'd have to you'd want to save your map just in general, save a map. And then you would want to go to share. And sharing it will generate a little URL so that someone else could look at your web map. And when you do that, what they'll get is a link to basically this interface with these buttons on top, with this thing on the left, which is not the most polished finished product, but there are other ways to save it and share it as well. I'll show you that. But when you just hit share and say, I want to share with everyone, make it public, you'll get a thing asking you to update sharing. If you're making it public and the data is not public, then it wants you to make the data public, fine. But you'll get a link and that's what you would give people. If you want to make a more polished finished product, like there's something that's not so in progress, like this page looks like it's still a work in progress, then what you'd want to do is hit this button here, create a web app. And the web app lets you pick from all these different templates. And it's the same data, it's the same map, it's just like a different, what do they call it in video games? It's like a different skin on top of your map, just a different template, just to make it a little bit nicer looking, a little bit more polished, that hides some of the buttons so that an end user doesn't have to look at them. So you can pick from any one of these, and then you can.
This is also, it's also through web apps. If you use a media-enabled web app, that you can get those pop-ups with a hover instead of clicking.
Oh, thank you. I've never done it, but I've seen it. Never knew how it was done. Okay. When you're in here and looking for different templates for your web apps, notice how there's an option for story maps. So there's 2 different ways to make story maps. We'll talk more about this on Friday. But this is one way to start creating a story map. And I'll give you some links on Wednesday in preparation for Friday on story maps and what they look like. And they're really just cool ways to share your data and make a really cool map-based web page. And actually, sometimes I don't even need to have a map. But that's how just another way that you can share your stuff. And then going back over here, if you want to get fancier, here's the web app builder that lets you do a little more. And then that John Hopkins COVID map, I showed you that one that had the map with all the data on the sides. That's a dashboard. So there's ways to create those dashboards through this interface as well.
If you're creating a story map and only by saving this map, it will already pop up if you're trying to add a map into your story, or do you need to do an extra step?
Yeah, there's a few extra steps. So this would be the first step into creating a story map, but then there's a lot of configuration to make a finished story map. So we'll talk about that more another day because it's already 4:16. But yeah, they're really easy to make. Story maps are really easy to make, but they do have several steps. But they're very intuitive, and the end product looks like they're really hard to make.
No, yeah, I meant when you're already creating it and then you're trying to add a map that is already yours. So this map will already be saved on the library that we can access through the story map that we're creating. Is that, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you mean under the same account?
Yeah. Because I remember that we were doing this project and we just had a lot of trouble trying to find a map, a layer that had already been created. And so I was just wondering if there is an extra step or to save the map, just so we don't have issues when we're trying to.
Oh, I see. So the way a story map works is when you build a story map, you can point to one of your own web maps, but the web map has to be saved in your account, but the web map can contain layers that are not from your account. But sometimes layers need to be logged in, and so if you have that in a story map and the person viewing it isn't logged in, then certain layers sometimes don't show up.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share my map with my project partner.
Uh-huh.
Are there any, is there anything we need to know about compatibility? Like if they wanted to put that link to a map on their website, would they have any trouble doing that?
If it's shared publicly, then it should work. So if you create a web map and then you put that web map in a story map and everything in it, the whole chain up and down is all public, and then your partner puts that link on a web page, then it should work. But like I was telling, I think it was Juliana, if any of the layers in one of the web maps isn't public or something isn't public, then you might have trouble.
Can they embed it within their website too, the same way?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't have a story map embed thing, but right here, if you're just sharing a regular web map, you can get your embed code and literally copy and paste it in. It's so easy, even I've gotten it to work.
Cool.
So, yeah. And so this is just for web maps, but if you have a story map somewhere on the story map page, it would have the same thing to get the embed code. Great questions. What other questions do you have? What other topics was I going to cover? Hold on. What else did we have? I think that was pretty much it. And I'm very proud of myself that I stayed on time. Yeah, that was pretty much it. So in recap for today, we got the feel for ArcGIS Pro, and like we did this much of ArcGIS Pro, and ArcGIS Pro could fill this whole room, and we did this much. So there's a lot to learn, but just baby steps. Just like keep exploring, keep playing around with it. You'll get more comfortable with it. And on Wednesday and then on Friday, we'll grow that knowledge a little bit. Yeah, we got comfortable with ArcGIS Pro, comfortable with creating a little bit of data, being able to search for data, symbolizing data, a little bit about tables and attributes, and then how to get it into a web map. So each thing by itself is generally pretty easy and pretty simple, but I know when we're throwing 10 things at you in the course of 3 hours, it can seem a little overwhelming. So the idea now is that you'll have a day to let it absorb. Hopefully, over the course of the next couple of days, you can find some time in your own schedule to do the homework. So by that, I mean, log into Pro, play around with symbology. Log on to your web map. Again, play around with symbology. Just kind of poke around. Now that you see how to get started, just click on all the different things and see how it works. Play around with configuring more of those pop-ups. Look for other data. Go back into the search, go back into the add and search for layers and see what other data is out there that might be useful to your work. And if you can't find it, let us know. We can work on that together and try to find it. So that's your homework for the next couple of days. Just keep playing with it and maybe you'll come up with some new questions. Come back Wednesday at 1 o'clock and we'll continue on with our day 2 topics, which I will show right here. Day 2, so we'll do a quick review. Josh will actually be presenting, not me. So Josh will do a quick review of Pro and visualizing tabular data, talking a little more about what type of survey data you might have. And then the focus will be spatial analysis. How do we answer questions of our data? Everything from simple selections to overlays and things like that. We'll get kind of a good intro to that. And we'll be using the same slide deck for the next couple of days. So if you can see, like here are all the slides for Wednesday. Questions, if you have any questions, that's my dog. If you have any questions, please let us know. And then just to give you a heads up, at the end of the slides, we have some resources for you. if you want to look ahead at any of these in the next couple days, go for it. There's some great videos here. These ones are awesome. These ones are so good. Those are just from my class. These ones actually by Jarlath O'Neill Dunn. Those are really good. I would recommend those. Esri Training has all this online training that you can get to through your account. We'll talk more about that on Friday. So that's all we have for today. I'm not in a rush to leave. So if you guys have questions, specific issues that you were having, or things that looks like maybe we're not going to cover, you want to talk about it, stay online and we will help you out. Otherwise, we'll see you Wednesday, same place at 1 o'clock.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was really helpful.
Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.